Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. I am your host, Curveball, and today I am joined by three-time best-selling author and CEO of Battle Warrior. We're going to be talking to Chad Smith today about mental health. He is a survivor of addictions. He has survived porn and alcohol addiction, turned his life around. So we're going to hear his story today. Chad, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much. And it was actually, this is the first time I heard the 3-time part. I was blessed blessed greatly this year with my own book release, and then also 2 collaborative things. So the 2 and the 3 best-selling part of it, the number 2 and the number 3 actually quite surprised me right now. But that it sounded pretty cool, and I'm not even an arrogant side of it or any of that side of it. It's the first time I heard someone say it back to me. So I'm like, this is awesome.
Oh yeah, got it straight from your bio. Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, man. I am actually I'm Chad Smith. I'm the CEO of Battle Warrior Brands, which is a apparel line company built around honestly my journey, and it's 100% mental health focused on perseverance and bringing awareness to the journey of mental, physical, and spiritual growth. Pretty much is what it is. Keep it simple. We have a couple lines on that side of it, and I'm not going to dig deep into it, guys. Just go visit the website and if you have any questions or anything on that. So secondly, I am the voice of the Battle Warrior podcast. We are pushing 105 episodes. I've been doing it for about 2 years. We're worldwide, actually, technically. Very blessed and excited with the opportunities that comes with the podcasting journey. And obviously, as he would say, I am a 3-time. I am on or had the opportunity to be on 3 times the international bestseller list, including one with myself, which is 100% co-written by myself, and then 2 that I was co-writers for. It's really weird to all of a sudden do some projects and then also have some of that project kind of stay back and be given to different projects. So life's been very, I don't want to say so fast that you don't catch it. This year's been amazing with a lot of foundational built, a lot of great things entered in the pot of just exactly like my growth this year. At times, and you can contest to this probably, at times we get so focused on building ourselves, building the foundation, and we just get in this zone of just go. And today is actually, as I celebrate 3 years being sober, actually yesterday, pretty much the night of Thanksgiving. And today I'm enjoying some just good time, more joy. So enjoying some nature today and just kind of slowing my mind down to enjoy the big rush of what's coming here in December and January with podcasting world, and on top of that, holidays and families. So having a little peace before I enter the fast pace here for the next 6 weeks.
Congratulations on being sober. You also are born again Christian. So to tell us about how that came about.
Absolutely. That one starts with actually goes back to my divorce time frame, which caused a lot of the acceleration of my addictions. But my walk with God actually came from a 5'3", 5'4" old customer of mine. She actually saved me from jumping in the car and driving into the house that I knew my ex-wife was in with her now husband while we were still married. And in that zone, you really don't when you have a lot of trauma that comes at you and just kind of pulls the floor out of life, you kind of flip into a different person, and you kind of just, not say get protected, but um, when people talk about like suicide and just driving off the road and just all that stuff, I can be 100% in that, help people where exactly where that come, where it's a whole different animal. But no, God's been absolutely amazing for me. I'm finding my own identity. I do volunteer at my local church. I love the church. I'm part of production team, tech team, worship team, all that stuff, plus the men's group. But the amazing opportunity with being a born again Christian is you get to make your own identity, and not say make. He kind of molds you down a path into the person he wants you to be. I'm not a picture perfect human. I'm not a full blown pastor. I'm just a person that kind of has a little shades of his past, of the little rebel attitude. But that's the uniqueness of what he has in me. So that's when you blend yourself into a warrior, or battle warriors is the term I adapted on my end of it. You kind of have a little rougher side of it. And to me, it's what he's done in my life in the last, actually before getting sober, but in general, after I got sober, it's been absolutely amazing. So I'm not the guy that can sit and recital scripture word for word. I know a few verses, kind of like Steve Harvey said that same way. I know a couple of them, but I can sit here and talk for days exactly what he has done, the positions he's put me in general, just the people that he placed in my area. But yeah, I will admit 100% that I'm a fighter. So at times when he wants me to do something, I want to swing back at times. But that's just the natural thing of my progression and growth with being a Christian here. So I absolutely love it. I absolutely love my journey. But like I said, I'm not a picture perfect Christian. I still struggle and fall on my face at times. So, but that's the beauty of him molding us into the person that he wants us to be.
Well, you say that you're an addiction survivor, so just kind of tell us as much as you would like about the addictions you had and what they were like, and what made you get rid of the addictions, or how did you get rid of them?
So both addictions were a couple multi-layered facets here, guys. So I'm currently 36 years old. I grew up in the upper Midwest, so like the traditional Midwest in the United States, so like the Michigans, the Minnesotas, the Illinois, the Wisconsins, the true heart of it. I grew up in Wisconsin, and what happens up here is we're very traditionalist and very like a Friday night fish vibe is what we would call it. So the families would go out, go to local establishments, have Friday night fish. On top of that, you have the old fashions and whatever drinks and stuff that you have at that visit. But so a lot of us younger generations grew up in establishments and grew up around alcohol from day one. For me, what ended up being was just a normal routine. And a lot of people up here still evolves in the normal routine. But my excessiveness came from having my father leave me at a younger age. Not say leave me, he left me at 18. But the abandonment issues of it. So I was one of two one of two kids of his. I have an older sister. He never wanted the second child, which would have been me. So I was the leftover one of the kid that he never wanted to be 100% committed to. He's very engineering mindset, phenomenal, smart guy. My sister's the same way. So those two blended very well. I'm a wide open, all in or nothing, 100-mile-an-hour type of person. And no matter what, he didn't want to deal with that. So he just kind of gave me caffeine and just kind of like pushed me in the corner. And then kind of gave me what he had left in the tank with both my sister and I. So growing up, we had my mom divorced him at a very young age. So about 3 years old, I think, is when I finally did. My mom got remarried at, I think, 2 or 3 years later, to a phenomenal stepdad. You wouldn't have any, I would not be the person I am right now with all like the traditional stuff in my life, the hunting and fishing and all that fun stuff. 95% of the stuff I learned, if not more, of just staying alive, survival, hunting, fishing, all that stuff came from him. But behind the layers, there's some dark stuff in his past, not with him, but just in his family that we kind of hid, and I saw some excessiveness of drinking, obviously pot, and I didn't know at the time, but now I do the older I got. But of my cousins, 3 or 4 of them had kids before they were 18, so there were some sexual addictions and stuff on that side of it. It is what it is on my end. Like I said, I've been sober for 3 years, but during that time, I grew up around that, so like alcohol consumption was just a normal thing. So in high school, traditionally you go play sports, you stay on top of your health and everything. And I never had the right foundation of working out, staying on structure, all that stuff. So I would go to classes, go to, like the meets on the weekends. And after that, I would start drinking right away. 13, 14 years old. First in my mouth I imagine was 9, but at the age that I remember just grabbing out my own, with supervision, was 12, 13 years old. And then drinking the typical whiskeys and stuff. But at that same time, I grew up with 70s comedy music, or 70s comedy videos, VHSs, guys. Back in the day, it was tapes. But with that, you're talking about like the Stripes, the Animal House, and the original SNL cast in the rated R's back in the 70s. So the Porkies, the Animal Houses, the Caddyshack, those type of movies, which are phenomenal movies written. But the thing with that is I ended up grabbing into, like, no matter what, wanting to go see the naked scenes of the girls, no matter what. So at 9, 10 years old, I think it was 8, 9 years old, I was already seeing naked girls on videos and all that stuff. So traditionally the alcohol consumption was the main one, the main focus is what it was. But yeah, so hitting college, all I wanted to do was drink, party. Got kicked out of college. Still remember this day. I don't know how I survived, just for the sake of drinking 18 bottles of whiskey in 14 weeks. And I think my number one week was like 5 bottles in 1 week. Something I'm not proud of. Depends which crowd you're on, but to me, I'm not proud of, because I know at that time I was mixing Oxycontin from my wisdom teeth. I was mixing pot on top of taking Adderall and that stuff. So when traditionally people go to college and learn and structure and kind of grasp stuff, I was experimenting with overlapping drugs pretty much. I didn't want to be there. Exactly what I wanted to do now is besides the working part, was exactly what I want to do there. So I was always creating stuff, fidgeting stuff, trying to side hustle stuff, trying to create businesses, doing fishing shows, doing boat shows, modeling for boat companies. So I was always doing stuff because I was tournament fishing on the side. So I was always in the industry, doing shows on the weekends on top of working part-time. So I was always constantly busy. And I knew at that time, age 21, 22, I wanted to turn pro. So at 21, 22 years old, I ended up turning pro and started getting the new boats every year. Started getting tournament coverage, being on the opposite side, started getting ESPN coverage. And ended up happening was the floor got ripped from that. So if you're not foundationally built and you get into the road life, is the best way I'm going to call it. The road life's going to eat you up and spit you out and tear you apart. And what ended up happening is that the sadness of being near bankruptcy at that time, or being foreclosing, not foreclosing, but just being behind on a boat where I knew I was a month away from the bank taking it. Um, Selling all my beer, all that stuff. I never really understood or combated my mental health in my 20s. I left college with dating a girl, which ended up being my first wife at the time, for from 22 all the way to when we got divorced when I was 31. And it was just go, 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 go. No foundation. Got married. Um, Still, both of us never took care of our mental health. Struggling to have at least create kids. And so we had 3.5 years of infertility on top of just the everyday life of losing, getting fired from a job, losing all this stuff. And just life went way too fast. And she ended up getting pregnant from now her husband, while we were still dating, or I'm sorry, married. And yeah, it was a train that I'm very blessed to have God kind of take me through. At that time, obviously, because of the divorce, I moved back to my original hometown, and at that time, I was stressed, just completely stress completely took all my weight away. And for me, what happens in this journey is you kind of revert back to original habits. And for me, I reverted back to my college habits, to where it's like I knew at that time I was way overweight. I was drinking all the time. I was eating pizza. But to me, it kind of resorted back to that I'm free again, um, even though it was a fake free. So I reverted back to um, drinking a lot of beer, partying a lot, ended up going out to the bars a lot. And at my peak, before I sobered up, I was drinking 3/8 to one half of a 1 liter bottle of Tito's a night, on top of drinking alcohol, beer at the bars, whatever it was. And the thing about it is, what I learned in my process is through this thing, and it's kind of quite tough to connect all the dots, because life and like I said, I'm a deer hunter, but life buckshot at me, man. So um, it took a large trauma event to say, okay, how do I get better? How do I come back from this? How do I grow this? And during that process, that week after that occurred, actually it wasn't even that. I think it was a couple days. I had an old customer reach out, and she's like, "Hey, I have this gut feeling I gotta call you." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "What are you planning on doing right now?" I said, "Well, I want to jump in the car and drive my car off the road in fucking building that they're in, pardon my French, and literally just take both of them out, just because I was mad that um I think it goes back to like a territorial thing, and abandonment issues back when, like I said, when my dad left. Reminding all those years of like guys kind of leaving my life, and not really trusting my core father at the time. But ended up being, she's like, "I don't know your mother," and she's like, "I know you're 4 hours from home," and she goes, "I'm going to be your mom right now, and I'm not going to bail you out of jail." So she's like, "You let go of that steering wheel right now, get back in the house, don't even think what you're doing." And she's like, "And I'm going to pray for you." And that was the 5'4", 5'5" girl that ended up bringing me back to Christ. And throughout the journey, throughout like the 2 years after, I still partied. You have to kind of like regain yourself and refine yourself. And during the whole 2 years, every couple months I would get the verse, "Be vigilant, be sober," and don't. It's either Matthew 1:9, or I know that's "Be strong and courageous," but don't quote me exactly where it came from of that. But with that, it just kept repeating, and I was still partying like crazy. And she's like, "Why don't you get sober?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Obviously, this is a consistent pattern." She's like, "Maybe he wants you to clean up." And I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." Like, when you're in the moments like that and you're having huge addictions, and all you want to do is drink and go have sex, and go be around naked girls, whatever the situation is, because you're full blown wide open in your addictions, you don't want to listen to that. And ended up being the night that kind of, there's two events that kind of flipped my life around. I was seeing a girl at the time down like an hour away from where I was currently living. And make a story short, the next morning we woke up and she's like, "Who drank 95% of this bottle?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "I only had one drink." And she goes, "And there's a whole 1 liter bottle gone or down to like a half inch." And I'm like, "That wasn't me. I swear he had more." She's like, "No." She's like, "I only had one drink." So she's like, "You literally almost drank a whole bottle of vodka at my house in 12 hours, whatever the situation was." And I kind of drove away knowing that it was kind of like a shame factor. And I was sober when I drove back home, but because through my life, I'd never had the confidence to kind of be around professional, like a different level type of girl, um, where it's more professional based, very smart, very genuine, and she's a very good looking girl now. I'm still friends with her, but in general, just something to kind of wake me up. And I still didn't quit drinking for a couple weeks after that, and then all of a sudden, like the addiction got dropped on my large family actually in the middle of the party, and that one woke me up because I had not only that you get the deer in the headlight look, but also you have the addiction full blunt in front of your family. And whatever you thought was hidden in the closet now is public. And the people that you thought you would kind of live up to and kind of follow to kind of flip your life around actually kind of you kind of be abandoned and you kind of feel that shame side of it. And that night I drove back with I knew I was kind of pissed off that I kind of and shameful that um, I had that happen to me, and I drove back with one headlight out. Luckily, I didn't get pulled over, and wanted to fix my car back up and go back to the bars and kind of hit some friends and just party it up. And whatever that situation was, I just remember blatant to this day, like I either made a drink and went to the bed or went to the bathroom and passed out, whatever the situation was. But I just remember still to this day that my car with one headlight out, and then after that was blank. And literally the next day, I took the bottle of vodka and dropped it out. So my first official sober date was like Halloween 2019. And just like this, guys, when you start doing this journey and you start kind of going near the direction that you're called to go, you're gonna have some people that are gonna push back with you. And what ended up happening was, if if you obey, there's certain things that come. But I ended up deer hunting and had actually in 5 days had probably one of the best luck I've ever had, and ended up drinking a little bit as like a victory thing, and it just didn't feel right, didn't taste right or anything. And I knew at that moment I was done. So yeah, that was 3 years ago at this time. Um, it's been a full flunt journey. Just like everyone that has an addiction, you get addicted to something. We have an addicting personality because we're just all wide open, all in on everything. And to me, I looked at it this way: I'm going to have a chance to flip my life around. And obviously, at that time, I had assistance with being in Wisconsin. Our lockdown didn't occur till March that year, but I knew at that time, going into the summer, I wanted to be entertainment. I wanted to be around music and all that stuff. And I got very blessed. Like I said, some people look at lockdown, they're very unserious about it, but lockdown saved my life. And it saved me from going out and getting the entertainment, saved me from seeing the Packer games or like the Brewer games or any like the MLB games with beer and all that stuff next to me. So I literally had to move out of the house. I had to move to a new town, which was locked down. And it taught me to go out and meet people that through a local church, and those people completely saved my life and got baptized through that local church a couple of years ago, and then ended up moving where I'm at now because I got called down here. So I'm still trying to figure out the calling and the reason why, but that's not up to me. There's slowly by surely he lays clues out and kind of briefly shows myself and people down here you can survive being in a clean world, and just pure joy. But yeah, like I said, I have 4 hours of tips and trades and all that stuff. 5 hours. We can make a very long episode, but I just kind of connect the dots here. Just brief stories on each. But yeah, that's a short version of me. Hyperactive, 100% all in, very addicting personality, and got raised up in an environment that if you're around it every day, it seems normal. But like I said, I'm 36, and late 80s, early 90s was a whole different environment versus now, the late 90s and early 2000s for kids. So yeah, just being around that life every day, you don't really know what you're putting in your mouth until you realize that a lot of your key growing areas, your key involvements ended up being, for me, had alcohol in my system. So yeah, I enjoy it. I'm learning a lot about myself, and enjoying the process here with podcasting and being creative and businesses and all this fun stuff here. So yeah, it's been a phenomenal journey. And like I said, I'm used to being a podcast host, but guys, yeah, it's been amazing.
Well, tell us about your books and what readers can expect when they read them and where to get them.
Okay, so my 100%, the book I 100% written, which is just a solo book of mine, it is Battle Warrior, which represents my sobriety journey. It goes everywhere from what I experienced, and then I had some phenomenal ghostwriters add in like the psychology side of it. And then on the back end, we kind of reverted back to personal development of just everyday common sense growth of how to take control of your mind and overcome that addiction. The next two were The Mindset of Greatness, which is 13 collaborative authors throughout the world tackling just in general of a mindset of a champion. So I'm actually reading that currently as we speak. It's a phenomenal book in general, but it was kind of cool just kind of seeing what I put in there. And because you submit it like a year and a half, like I submitted it pretty much this time last year, and I never had a chance to kind of look in depth of it. But yeah, it's a phenomenal written book by Alan Mangini. I think chapter 4 or chapter 5 of that. And then there's another one which the guy that helped me in that situation is going to yell at me right now, but I completely forgot what it's called, and I apologize on that, guys, here, and I should know that, but it's by Sam Abibe, and I think it's called Road Less Traveled, I think, as I remember right. But it's the same guys that's all part of the group that I was part of. I should know this, but I currently blanked out on the exact title on that one.
Okay. Well, do you have any current or upcoming projects that you're working on that people need to know about?
I'm currently building, trying to build a men's community. I say trying to piece together pieces and exactly what's going to be created. Trying to bring awareness and kind of wake. And there's been a repeated in this industry, but what ended up happening is a lot of the guys hit that they become phenomenal fathers. They are providing as endless amounts as they want. They have a very successful marriage, but they end up losing themselves, and they kind of lose the aggressiveness of just being a guy. So we're trying to create a group of where guys can just be guys, not have a cigar or shoot a gun, and just talk about sports, whatever it is, and kind of add some personal development into that group. In general, though, that's pretty much what it is. And then I will be doing a more of like a mastermind summit coming up here next summer, midsummer, I think time frame is going to be. So pretty quiet right now. Local projects are just, podcasts and releasing episodes. Big stuff will be probably all ready to roll here by February, March timeframe.
Okay, give out your contact information so people can keep up with you and everything that you're doing, websites and things like that.
Absolutely. You can reach me on Instagram at the Chad M. Smith. Also at Battle Warrior Brands and at Battle Warrior Podcast. And then also the websites that you can reach me at just for apparel or Battle Warrior Brands is www.battlewarriorbrands.com. And then the other one is just my standard website, which is www.thechadmsmith.com, which is going to be more of a one-on-one coaching with the books and stuff that's non-apparel related here. So absolutely, man, I'm scattered everywhere. On Facebook, we're under the You Are More movement as a Facebook group. And then also, like I said, my Battle Warrior Brands is on Facebook here, but we only have so much time to do everything here in general with social media side of it. So I'm going to clean that list up and just make 4 or 5 key areas for everyone.
Okay, we'll close this out with some final thoughts. Maybe something I forgot to touch on that you would like to touch on, or any final thoughts that you have for the listener.
Absolutely, guys. The final thoughts is 2 things here. When you're discovering and you're walking down a journey where you're finding that you are more, is a saying that I have, but like when you're discovering that you are worthy more than what you currently have, just be happy, because that journey tends to be quiet at times, and you almost develop into a lone wolf. But I will tell you this, guys, is you are not alone. There's people that are going to be watching you in your growth. There's going to be people that are going to be reaching ahead of you, that's going to grab you and kind of pull you to the next level. Just be aware and be proud to be in that gray area and understand the mission and the long-term vision, that you have to disappear for a little bit and get yourself straightened back out and foundationally built. So just focus on you, be the best person you can be, try, physically, mentally, spiritually, and then come back and reach back and help the community.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chad, the Battle Warrior Smith, please be sure to check him out. Check out everything he's up to. Go purchase his books. Check out his coaching. Check out that Battle Warrior brand. If you enjoy this episode, or you like the podcast in general, please be sure to tell a friend, follow, rate, review, and share this episode to as many people as possible. Chad, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely, man. It was a pleasure, and glad we had this conversation.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.